I just wanted to get on a couple. What is going on? I just wanted to get on a couple seconds earlier because yesterday there was a problem with my live and I couldn't download it so that I can re-upload it or upload it to YouTube. So I just wanted to make sure everything was good, and everything seems to be fine, and I don't know. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started, and yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So I just want to thank you all for joining. Hope you stick around, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, do all the things, follow, do all the things, because it definitely helps me out. And I'm just trying to spread the word and grow my community and just bring the word to you guys every day. Again, yesterday, I don't know what happened. I was live, but it didn't save. So prayerfully today it will, and I can upload it to YouTube in case you missed the live. But I'm going to go ahead, get started with a word of prayer, and then I'm going to move on. We are going to be starting at Exodus 17. So Lord, I thank you for this day. I thank you, Lord, for waking us up this morning. God, I pray that you just step in, God. Bring those to this live and to this video that are looking to grow closer to you, God, that are looking to get into your word. And I just pray, God, that I be that tool that they need to get your word every day. And Lord, if there's anything that's not like you, God, remove it. And I pray, Lord, that our thoughts be your thoughts, that our words be your words. And all these things I ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Thank God and amen. And we are going to go ahead and get started. Again, we are at Exodus 17, and I'm still going to go ahead sometime today, hopefully, or this weekend. I'm going to try and read what I read yesterday and get that uploaded to YouTube so that there's the consistency, from beginning to end. All right, take a sip of coffee, and then the lighting is really, really weird today. So sorry about that. All right. The whole Israelite community broke camp and set out from the Sin Desert to continue their journey, as the Lord commanded. They set up their camp at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. The people argued with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses said to them, "Why are you arguing with me? Why are you testing the Lord?" But the people were very thirsty for water there, and they complained to Moses, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt to kill us, our children, and our livestock with thirst?" So Moses cried out to the Lord, "What should I do with this people? They are getting ready to stone me." The Lord said to Moses, "Go on ahead of the people and take some of Israel's elders with you. Take in your hand the shepherd's rod that you used to strike the Nile River and go. I'll be standing there in front of you on the rock of Horeb. Hit the rock. Water will come out of it, and the people will be able to drink." Moses did so while Israel's elders watched. He called the place Massah and Meribah, because the Israelites argued with and tested the Lord, asking, "Is the Lord really with us or not?" Amalek came and fought with Israel at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, "Choose some men for us and go fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I'll stand on top of the hill with the shepherd's rod of God in my hand." So Joshua did as Moses told him. He fought with Amalek while Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. Whenever Moses held up his hand, Israel would start winning the battle. Whenever Moses lowered his hand, Amalek would start winning. But Moses' hands grew tired. So they took a stone and put it under Moses so he could sit down on it. Aaron and Hur helped up his hand, one on each side of him, so that his hands remained steady until sunset. So Joshua defeated Amalek and his army with the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Write this as a reminder on a scroll and read it to Joshua. I will completely wipe out the memory of Amalek under the sky. Moses built an altar there and called it, "The Lord is my banner." He said, "The power of the Lord's banner. The Lord is at war with Amalek in every generation." Jethro, Midian's priest, and Moses' father-in-law heard about everything that God had done for Moses and for God's people Israel, how the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. Moses' father-in-law Jethro took with him Zipporah, Moses' wife, whom he had sent away, along with her 2 sons. One was named Gershom because he said, "I have been an immigrant living in a foreign land." The other was named Eleazar because he said, "The God of my ancestors was my helper who rescued me from Pharaoh's sword." Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, brought Moses' sons and wife back to him in the desert where he had set up camp at God's mountain. He sent word to Moses, "I, your father-in-law Jethro, am coming to you along with your wife and her 2 sons." Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, and he bowed down and kissed him. They asked each other how they were doing, and then they went into the tent. Moses then told his father-in-law everything that the Lord had done to Pharaoh and to the Egyptians on Israel's behalf, all the difficulty they had had on their journey, and how the Lord had rescued them. Jethro was glad about all the things that the Lord had done for Israel in saving them from the Egyptians' power. Jethro said, "Bless the Lord who rescued you from the Egyptians' power and from Pharaoh's power, who rescued the people from Egypt's oppressive power. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all the gods because of what happened when the Egyptians plotted against them." Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, brought an entirely burned offering and sacrifices to God. Aaron came with all of Israel's elders to eat a meal with Moses' father-in-law in God's presence. The next day, Moses sat as a judge for the people, while the people stood around Moses from morning until evening. When Moses' father-in-law saw all that he was doing for the people, he said, "What's this that you are doing for the people? Why do you sit alone, while all the people are standing around you from morning until evening?" Moses said to his father-in-law, "Because the people come to me to inquire of God. When a conflict arises between them, they come to me to inquire of God. When a conflict arises between them, they come to me, and I judge between the two of them. I also teach them God's regulations and instructions." Moses' father-in-law said to him, What you are doing isn't good. You will end up totally wearing yourself out, both you and these people who are with you. The work is too difficult for you. You can't do it alone. Now listen to me and let me give you some advice, and may God be with you. Your role should be to represent the people before God. You should bring their disputes before God yourself. Explain the regulations and instructions to them. Let them know the way they are supposed to go and the things they are supposed to do. But you should also look among all the people for capable persons who respect God. They should be trustworthy and not corrupt. Set these persons over the people as officers of groups of thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. Let them sit as judges for the people at all times. Dog is very active today. Let them sit as judges for the people at all times. They should bring every major dispute to you, but they should decide all of the minor cases themselves. This will be much easier for you, and they will share your load. If you do this and God directs you, then you will be able to endure, and all these people will be able to go back to their homes much happier. Moses listened to his father-in-law's suggestions and did everything that he had said. Moses chose Moses chose capable persons from all Israel and set them as leaders over the people, as officers over groups of thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. They acted as judges for the people at all times. They would refer the hard cases to Moses, but all the minor cases they decided themselves. Then Moses said goodbye to his father in law, and Jethro went back to his own country. Just a second. On exactly the third month anniversary of the Israelites leaving the land of Egypt, they came into Sinai. They came into the Sinai desert. They traveled from Rephidim, came into the Sinai desert, and set up camp there. Israel camped there in front of the mountain while Moses went up to God. The Lord called to him from the mountain. This is what you should say to Jacob's household and declare to the Israelites. You saw what I did to the Egyptians and how I lifted you up on eagle's wings and brought you to me. So now, if you faithfully obey me and stay true to my covenant, you will be most precious. You will be my most precious possession out of all the peoples, since the whole earth belongs to me. You will be a kingdom of priests for me and a holy nation. These are the words you should say to the Israelites. So Moses came down, called together the people's elders, and set before them all these words that the Lord had commanded him. The people all responded with one voice, "Everything that the Lord has said, we will do." Moses reported to the Lord what the people said. Then the Lord said to Moses, I'm about to come to you in a thick cloud in order that the people will hear me talking with you so that they will always trust you. Moses said to the Lord what the people said, and the Lord said to Moses, Go to the people and take today and tomorrow to make them holy. Have them wash their clothes. Be ready for the third day. Because on the third day the Lord will come down on Mount Sinai for the people to see. Set up a fence for the people all around and tell them, Be careful not to go up to the mountain or to touch any part of it. Anyone who even touches the mountain must be put to death. No one should touch anyone who has touched it, or they must be either stoned to death or shot with arrows, whether an animal or a human being. They must not be allowed to live. Only when the ram's horn sounds may they go up to the mountain. So Moses went down the mountain to the people. He made sure the people were holy and that they washed their clothes. He told the men, Prepare yourselves for 3 days. Don't go near a woman. When morning dawned on the third day, there was thunder, lightning, and a thick cloud on the mountain, and a very loud blast of a horn. All the people in the camp shook with fear. Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet God, and they took their place at the foot of the mountain. Mount Sinai was all in smoke, because the Lord had come down on it with lightning. The smoke went up like the smoke of a hot furnace, while the whole mountain shook violently. The blast of the horn grew louder and louder. Moses would speak, and God would answer him with thunder. The Lord came down on Mount Sinai to the top of the mountain. The Lord called Moses to come up to the top of the mountain. Moses went up. The Lord said to Moses, Go down and warn the people not to break through to try and see the Lord, or many of them will fall dead. Even the priests who came near to the Lord must keep themselves holy, or the Lord will break loose against them. Moses said to the Lord, The people aren't allowed to come up on Mount Sinai because you warned us and said, Set up a fence around the mountain to keep it holy. The Lord said to him, Go down and bring Aaron back up with you. But the priests and the people must not break through and come up to the Lord. Otherwise, the Lord will break loose against them. So Moses went down to the people and told them. Then God spoke all these words. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You must have no other gods before me. Do not make an idol for yourself, no form whatsoever of anything in the sky above or on the earth below or in the waters under the earth. Do not bow down to them or worship them, because I, the Lord your God, am a passionate God. I punish children for their parents' sins, even to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me. But I am loyal and gracious to the thousandth generation of those who love me and keep my commandments. Do not use the Lord your God's name as if it were of no significance. The Lord won't forgive anyone who uses his name that way. Remember the Sabbath day and treat it as holy. 6 days you may work and do all your tasks, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. Do not do any work on it, not you, your sons or daughters, your male or female servants, your animals, or the immigrant who is living with you, because the Lord made the heavens and earth, the sea, and everything that is in them in 6 days, but rested on the seventh day. This is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Honor your mother and your Honor your father and your mother, so that your life will be long on the fertile land that the Lord your God is giving you. Do not kill, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not testify falsely against your neighbor, and do not desire your neighbor's house. Do not desire and try to take your neighbor's wife, male or female servant, ox, donkey, or anything else that belongs to your neighbor. When all the people witnessed the thunder and lightning, the sound of the horn, and the mountain smoking, the people shook with fear and stood at a distance. They said to Moses, You speak to us and we'll listen, but don't let God speak to us or we'll die. Moses said to the people, Don't be afraid, because God has come only to test you and to make sure you are always in awe of God so that you don't sin. The people stood at a distance while Moses approached the thick darkness in which God was present. The Lord, sorry guys. My throat has just not been right. The Lord said to Moses, Say this to the Israelites. You saw for yourselves how I spoke with you from heaven. Don't make alongside me gods of silver or gold for yourself. Make for me an altar from fertile soil on which to sacrifice your entirely burned offerings, your well-being sacrifices, your sheep and your oxen. I will come to you and bless you in every place where I make sure my name is remembered. But if you do not make for me an altar from stones, don't build it with chiseled stone, since using your chisel on stone will make it impure. Don't climb onto my altar using steps. Then your genitals won't be exposed by doing so. These are the case laws that you should set before them. When you buy a male Hebrew slave, he will serve you for 6 years. But in the 7th year, he will go free without any payment. If he came in single, he will leave single. If he came in married, then his wife will leave with him. If his master gave him a wife and she bore him sons or daughters, the wife and her children will belong to the master. He will leave single. However, if the slave clearly states, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I don't want to go free, then his master will bring him before God. He will bring him to the door or the doorpost. There his master will pierce his ear with a pointed tool, and he will serve him as a slave for life. When a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shouldn't be set free in the same way as male slaves are set free. If she doesn't please her master, who chose her for himself, then her master must let her be bought back by her family. He has no right to sell her to a foreign people, since he has treated her unfairly. If he assigns her to his son, he must give her the rights of a daughter. If he takes another woman for himself, he may not reduce her food, clothing, or marital rights. If he doesn't do these three things for her, she would go free without any payment for no money. Anyone who hits and kills someone should be put to death. If the killing wasn't on purpose but an accident allowed by God, then I will designate a place to which the killer can run away. But if someone plots and kills another person on purpose, you should remove the killer from my altar and put him to death. Anyone who violently hits their father or mother should be put to death. Anyone who kidnaps a person, whether they have been sold or are still being held, should be put to death. Anyone who curses their father or mother should be put to death. When two people are fighting and one hits the other with a stone or with his fist, so that he is in bed for a while but doesn't die, if he recovers and is able to walk around outside with a cane, then the one who hit him shouldn't be punished, except to pay for the loss of time from work and to pay for his full recovery. When a slave owner hits a male or female slave with a rod and the slave dies immediately, the owner should be punished. But if the slave gets up every day after a day or two, they shouldn't be punished because the slave is the owner's property. When people who are fighting injure a pregnant woman so that she has a miscarriage but no other injury occurs, then the guilty party will be fined what the woman's husband demands, as negotiated with the judges. If there is further injury, then you will give a life for a life, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a hand for a hand, a foot for a foot, a burn for a burn, a bruise for a bruise, a wound for a wound. When a slave owner hits and blinds the eye of a male or female slave, he should let the slave go free on account of the eye. If he knocks out a tooth of a male or a female slave, he should let the slave go free on account of the tooth. When an ox gores a man or a woman to death, the ox should be stoned to death, and the meat of the ox shouldn't be eaten, but the owner of the ox shouldn't be punished. However, if the ox had gored people in the past and its owner had been warned but didn't watch out for it, and the ox ends up killing a man or a woman, then the ox should be stoned to death, and its owner should also be put to death. If the owner has to pay compensation instead, he must pay the agreed amount to save his life. If the ox gores a boy or a child, the same case laws apply to the owner. If the ox gores a male or female slave, the owner will pay 30 silver shekels to the slave's owner, and the ox will be stoned to death. When someone leaves a pit open or digs a pit and doesn't cover it, and an ox or donkey falls into the pit, the owner of the pit must make good on the loss. He should pay money to the ox owner, but he may keep the dead animal. When someone's ox hurts someone else's ox and it dies, then they should sell the live ox and divide its price. They should also divide the dead animal between them. But if the ox was known for goring in the past and its owner hadn't watched out for it, the owner must make good to the loss, an ox for an ox, but may keep the dead animal. So 22, I'll read one more, maybe two more chapters, maybe two. When someone steals an ox or a sheep and then slaughters or sells it, the thief must pay back 5 oxen for the 1 ox or 4 sheep for the 1 sheep. If the thief is caught breaking in and is beaten and dies, the one who killed him won't be guilty of bloodshed. However, if this happens in broad daylight, then the one who killed him is guilty of bloodshed. For his part, the thief must make good on what he stole. If he has nothing, he must be sold to pay for his theft. If an animal, whether ox, donkey, or sheep, is found alive in the thief's possession, he must pay back double. When someone lets an animal loose to eat another person's field and causes the field or vineyard to be stripped of its crop, the owner must pay them back with the best from his own field or vineyard. When someone starts a fire and it catches in thorns and then spreads to someone else's stacked grain, standing grain, or a whole field, the one who started the fire must repay the loss. When someone entrusts money or other items to another person to keep safe and they are stolen from the other person's house and the thief is caught, the thief must pay back double. If the thief isn't caught, the owner of the house should be brought before God to determine whether or not the owner stole the other's property. When any dispute of ownership over an ox, donkey, sheep, piece of clothing, or any other loss arises in which someone claims, "This is mine," the cases of both parties should come before God. The one who God finds at fault must pay double to the other. When someone gives a donkey, ox, sheep, or any other animal to another person to keep safe, and the animal dies or is injured or taken and no one saw what happened, the person should swear a solemn pledge before the Lord in the presence of the owner that he didn't touch the other's property. The owner must accept that and no payment needs to be made. But if the animal was stolen, the person must make full payment to its owner. If the animal was attacked and ripped apart and its torn body is brought as evidence, no payment needs to be made. When someone borrows an animal from another and it is injured or dies while the owner isn't present, full payment must be made. If the owner was present, no payment needs to be made. If the animal was hired, only the fee for hiring the animal is due. When a man seduces a young woman who isn't engaged to be married yet and he sleeps with her, he must marry her and pay the bride price for her. But if her father absolutely refuses to let them marry, he must still pay the same amount as the bride price for the young women. He must still pay the same amount as the bride price for young women. Don't allow a female sorcerer to live. Anyone who has sexual relations with an animal should be put to death. Anyone who offers sacrifices to any god other than the Lord alone should be destroyed. Don't mistreat or oppress an immigrant, because you were once immigrants in the land of Egypt. Don't treat any widow or orphan badly. If you do treat them badly and they cry out to me, you can be sure that I'll hear their cry. I'll be furious, and I'll kill you with the sword. Then your wives will be widows, and your children will be orphans. If you lend money to my people who are poor among you, don't be a creditor and charge them interest. If you take a piece of clothing from someone as a security deposit, you should return it before the sun goes down. His clothing may well be his only blanket to cover himself. What else will that person have to sleep in? And if he cries out to me, I'll listen because I'm compassionate. Don't say a curse against God and don't curse your people's chief. Don't delay offering the produce of your vineyards and wine presses. Give me your oldest son. Do the same with your oxen and with your sheep. They should stay with their mother for 7 days. On the 8th day you should give them to me. You are holy people to me. Don't eat any meat killed by wild animals out in the field. Throw it to the dogs instead. And that is the end of chapter 22. We're going to stop here because it's almost half an hour there. And I'm praying that this will upload to YouTube so that if you missed it or you want to listen to it later, it'll be on there. I will be on again tomorrow at 7 a.m. And I'm thinking next week I may go live over on YouTube rather than here in the morning, just to kind of see what the difference is. I haven't been live over there in a long time, so we'll see. And my link is in my bio, so you can definitely just click on the YouTube logo and you'll be at my YouTube channel. And again, I post this over there. Yesterday I had a problem, but we're gonna go ahead and try again today. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go live over on YouTube next week at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. So like I said, be sure to check me out over there and subscribe so that you get notified that I'm live. My kids are on spring break, so I'm just trying to see what's going to work best for that week. So that is it for today, and I pray that you all have an amazingly blessed day. And until next time, be blessed and be the reason someone smiles. Bye.